everyone, and welcome to the Main Street America Small Business Digital Trainers session. Main Street America is helping small business owners gain new skills through a team of digital marketing experts who provide free training to small business owners across the country. In this training, Basic Tips for Cybersecurity and Your Small Business, we'll be talking about cybersecurity, why it's important to businesses of all sizes, and how you can protect yourself and your customers. All of us have heard stories of computer security breaches over the years, with customer data stolen, systems disabled, and access to important data held for ransom. As the number of digital tools grow, they also become attack vectors for criminals and other bad actors, presenting another challenge for businesses. According to an online survey conducted by the Connected Commerce Council in 2022, 65% of SMB leaders said that data security and customer privacy are concerns for their business right now. And in the same survey, 85% of SMB leaders said that having a cybersecurity plan in place would make them feel more comfortable using digital tools for their businesses over the next 2 years. There's no denying that there are bad actors out there, but there are also actions that you can take to protect your business and your customers and start developing your cybersecurity plan. So what exactly is a cyber attack? A cyber attack is any offensive action that targets computers, computer networks, infrastructures, or smartphones. To get into these systems, the attackers look for vulnerabilities like weak passwords. Here's another way to look at it. Think of your computer, phone, and online presence like a home. This home has different entry points, including email, social media, a website, and more. Cyber criminals test the entry points by automating attacks with computer code that knocks on every door to see which one's open. Initially, a cyber criminal might not know or even care what's inside the home. They won't necessarily review brand or business information before attacking. They are simply checking for vulnerabilities which then can be exploited. That's why it's important not to dismiss cybersecurity thinking that your business is too small for an attack. Most cyber criminals choose targets by looking for technical signals that suggest vulnerabilities. These can include out-of-date websites built with less security, software that hasn't been updated, and technical vulnerabilities on employee devices. So how can you protect yourself? Let's start with passwords and identity. By now, many of you have probably heard advice about creating strong passwords. It's helpful to review some basic tips. Make your passwords difficult to guess. They should be long strings of characters that include letters, numbers, and symbols. Keep passwords private and never share them with other people. And use different passwords for each account or service. Using different passwords means that even if someone figures out a password for one account, they can't use it to access other accounts. And here's a bonus tip. Make sure you use a strong password for your Wi-Fi network too. Perhaps an easier way to manage passwords is to use a tool called a password manager. There are many options available, but they all essentially do the same thing. They help you securely store and autofill passwords so you can easily sign into your accounts. Some password managers can also generate secure passwords for you too. You can find different options for password managers by doing a search for password manager. Google has a no-cost option called Google Password Manager. Password Manager helps you create, save, and autofill your passwords. It can also alert you if any of your saved passwords have been compromised. Passwords are securely stored in your Google account. And you can learn more by visiting passwords.google.com. An extra security measure you can use to protect your identity is called two-step verification. This feature is also known as two-factor verification or multi-factor authentication, or MFA. And here's how it works. When you sign into a device or an online account with your username and password, two-step verification adds another requirement. You can't sign in until you complete the second verification step. This could be a code sent to your phone, a phone call that requires a PIN code, or a physical security code that must be plugged into your computer. Enabling two-step verification means the account is protected by something that you know, your username and password, plus something that you physically own, like a phone or a security key. This combination makes it more difficult for an unauthorized person to sign into the system. Two-step verification is useful for any service that you sign into, like email or password-protected websites. If your business builds and sells online services or software, consider making two-step verification part of your product, giving your customers the option of using two-step verification to help them protect their accounts. Now that you've learned some ways to protect your passwords and your identity, let's talk about protecting your equipment, apps, and data. Let's start with some basic tips. First, never leave your computer unattended. Even in your workplace, you should keep your computer private. One option is to enable a lock screen. It's a security feature that requires a password to access data and programs on your computer. That way, if you step away from your computer for a few minutes, the lock screen keeps your work private. If you're responsible for distributing computers to employees or colleagues, make sure they can access only the devices that are assigned to them. In addition, people should have access only to the tools they need for their jobs. So, for example, a sales team might need access to inventory records, but not payroll data. If system access is limited, there's less risk to the business if a device falls into the wrong hands. Finally, make sure hardware comes from trusted sources before using it. For example, if you find a USB stick on your desk and you're not sure where it came from, don't plug it into your computer. The same considerations apply to mobile devices. If your colleagues and employees can access company information via smartphones or tablets, consider creating a mobile device management policy. The policy could, for example, require employees to encrypt their devices, require a PIN to unlock them, and allow for remote wiping of data. If you allow employees to access company data from their personal devices, consider what could happen if the device is stolen, lost, or if the employee leaves the company. One solution is remote data wiping, a feature that enables an authorized person to send a command that completely erases all stored data on a device. This option can protect your company's assets and reduce the risk of a data breach. Now that you know some ways to protect your equipment, let's cover a few safety precautions that can protect your apps and your data. First of all, make sure that your operating system and software is up to date. It's important to use supported software that allows you to run updates on a regular basis. When possible, enable auto updates so that you have the latest security fixes as soon as they are available. Review your devices. Are there apps that you don't need? And if so, remove them. And finally, if you're responsible for distributing computers to employees or colleagues, establish policies that limit what data can be stored on their devices. Again, if a device contains only the information necessary for someone to do their job, there's less risk to the company if it falls in the wrong hands. So far, we've covered protecting passwords, identity, hardware, and apps. Now let's talk about some ways you can protect your customers and your business too. First, you need to secure your website and protect web pages from unauthorized access. One way to protect your site is to use HTTPS. Now, sometimes it's easiest to explain something by looking at it. If you have a computer or smartphone handy, pull up a website, and any website will do, and look at the URL at the top of the browser window. You'll see that the URL starts with HTTP or HTTPS. Without getting too technical, this prefix allows browsers to load web pages. HTTPS is the same as HTTP, except that the S means the website is secure. HTTPS tells a browser to encrypt the data exchanged with a web page. Encryption disguises data and lessens the chance that information is viewed or manipulated by unauthorized people. Adding this security protects customer data that is viewed or exchanged via the website. This is especially important for personal data or financial information. But it's a good idea to use HTTPS even if your site doesn't handle sensitive information. To use HTTPS, you need a secure certificate. Most likely, your web hosting provider offers this feature. If they don't, you can buy a digital certificate from a company that sells them called a security authority, and you can install it yourself. And one final reason to use HTTPS, apart from the security benefit, using it can improve your website's ranking on search engines. For example, Google Search uses HTTPS as a positive ranking signal. Protecting your business online doesn't stop with your website. Another area of consideration is your email provider. Choosing a provider that supports encryption, transport layer security, or TLS, is an important step toward protecting your business and your customers. For example, by default, Gmail always tries to use a secure TLS connection when sending email. However, a secure TLS connection requires that both the sender and the recipient use TLS. If the receiving server doesn't use TLS, Gmail still delivers the message, but the connection isn't secure. And when in doubt, do not open a suspicious email, period. Unsolicited email is called spam. Sometimes spam is simply an online version of a cold call. Sometimes spam can be a cyber attack attempt. Remind colleagues, employees to be careful when clicking on email attachments, downloading files, or visiting new URLs. Never click on a link in an unsolicited email. Look out for suspicious sender email addresses and email signatures, and never share personal information such as usernames, passwords, social security numbers, credit card numbers, etc. One type of email attack that is common is called phishing. In a phishing attempt, a cyber criminal impersonates a trustworthy brand or person to trick you into taking an action that gives them access to your business or customers. So, for example, they might try to trick you into installing a malicious piece of software called malware that will give them full access to your computer data. Or they might impersonate a credit card company in order to steal your username and password or other and financial information. Phishing attacks can target an individual person or be broadcasted to a large group. And phishing is not limited to email. It can happen in a variety of places, including text messages, messaging apps, and websites. To make matters worse, phishing attacks can be fairly sophisticated, and the communications may appear legitimate at first glance. Let's take a look at how you can identify suspicious emails. Spam emails, malicious or not, can be difficult to spot, but there are some warning signs that can help you make decisions about whether it's safe. Unfortunately, each of these signs does not necessarily indicate that the email is spam. Sometimes it's a combination of signals that will tip you off. First, is the email from a sender you recognize? Check the displayed name. Does it match the email address you expect? If the displayed name is your well-known financial institution, but the email address is givemeyourmoney-12345@gmail.com, that's a good clue that it's not a legitimate email. Also, review the email subject line. Many spam emails inject a sense of urgency, hoping you'll take action. The email might literally include the word urgent in all capital letters. Sometimes, like the example shown on this slide, the subject line will warn you about an unexpected expense. The next clue, poorly written copy. This will be a judgment call on your part because even the biggest brands can make spelling or grammar mistakes. But if the phrasing is awkward, if the sentences don't read naturally, it's a sign that the email might be the product of a translation tool and possibly spam. Take a look at the subject line of the email shown on this slide. Invoice has been done and we will charge dues $348.60. That should be a big red flag that it's not a legitimate email. Finally, be very careful about attachments. Never click on an email attachment from an email that you suspect is spam. Now let's look at another cyber attack attempt. It's a tricky one. Take a look at these two screenshots. Both appear to be from Google, asking you to input two-step verification code that would provide access to the account. Can you spot the fake? Here's a closer look at the fake version. The first thing you'll notice is that you don't recognize this person. We dropped a clue using unknown sender as the email address. Also, there's no profile photo associated with the email address, another clue that might help you identify it's a fake. The clue that clinches is the URL. It's really tricky because as a quick glance, it looks like you're at https://accounts.google.com. That's a Google URL. But if you take a closer look, you'll see that the next character after the .com is not a /. That's what you would see if the domain name ended in .com. Instead of the /, the URL contains with .https://com.tn, and that's not a Google URL. The bottom line, think before you click. When in doubt, do not click. Finally, let's consider this proverb. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That holds true to most things in life, including cybersecurity. It's important to have a plan ready in case you detect a security problem. A data breach response plan outlines who's in charge and what needs to be done if sensitive or confidential data is viewed or stolen by an unauthorized person. This response plan can protect your business assets by ensuring that action is taken quickly if things go wrong. For example, in case of a ransomware attack in which cybercriminals steal sensitive data and then demand a ransom for its return, a solid response plan could include making sure you have a recent data backup. Take time to develop a clear plan in advance so everyone understands what steps to follow if a security incident occurs. Another step you can take to protect your equipment, software, and systems is to create a record of your technology assets. Which platform, tools, and softwares are you using? What accounts like social media do you have? Don't forget to include suppliers and customers as well as employees. During your inventory, you might also discover out-of-date software, a potential target for cyber criminals. Answering these questions will help you develop an asset inventory and an important step for improving online security. You do not want to train employees about cybersecurity while you're experiencing a security breach. Do not wait. You might designate someone at your business to be responsible for online safety policies and training. You could create an internal training website where security information and resources are available. And training sources are a great start, but it's just as important to make sure your company has a strong security culture. Discuss security regularly, encourage employees to share concerns, and make sure company leaders model good security practices. Think about security culture in your business and how you can make improvements. Thank you for attending, and please check out our other training videos. And should you have questions or need personalized help for your business, you can use the QR code or website below to schedule a one-on-one session with one of our digital trainers.